Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, All About the Goddess. The Goddess Next Door bears all in the art studio to catch a campus stalker in this action-packed Isis series mystery. Get your copy of Isis, All About the Goddess in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. For the first time since 1960, the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America are going on strike at the same time. And the decision not to settle this strike quickly could be one of the greatest tactical errors made by media executives ever since the inception of the entertainment industry. Now, the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America are demanding compensation for residuals on content presented on streaming services, and they are also demanding that standards be set as related to not using artificial intelligence created content, also known as AI, and I believe that they also are asking to get some sort of issues and standards set as related to the likenesses of individuals as related to AI created content. And these are, as I see it, legitimate claims as related to intellectual property and preserving their wealth and their rights as related to said material, and also making sure that they are fairly compensated for any sort of content that is presented on streaming services, and also making sure that they are also compensated and their estates are compensated for any future use of artificial intelligence created content based on their likenesses. Now, many of the executives of these media companies like Sony, like Disney, and Warner Brothers Discovery are trying to dismiss the claims of the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America. And they believe that they can wait out the actors and the writers, and they believe that they can go out here and make it where they can make a deal where they believe if the screen actors and writers start losing their homes, they can go out here and negotiate a deal where they can get all the benefits. But when I take a critical examination of the executives who have this sort of mindset, they don't really see how they're basically going to lead to the complete collapse of the overall entertainment industry, because what they are making is another tactical error in a series of tactical errors which has led to them losing lots of ground as related to entertainment. Now, ever since about 1996, Hollywood has been on a decline, and it's been on a decline based on their lobbying of the government with the Telecommunications Act, or Telecom Act, of 1996. Now, the Telecom Act was supposed to deregulate the entertainment industry, where the government had standards set where only one person could own a radio station, newspaper, TV station, or magazine in one local area, and these policies basically made it where we were able to have actual competition between different entertainment production companies and different studios in order to go out here and create content. Now, over the years since the Telecommunications Act of 1996 was passed and made into the telecom law by Republicans leaning on President Bill Clinton at the time, we have seen media consolidate from lots of small local TV radio stations all across the country and small publishers to a conglomerate of mega corporations such as Disney, Sony, and now Warner Brothers Discovery. And as these companies have become consolidated, we have seen less and less competition as related to the entertainment industry, and we've seen a lot less creativity as related to the entertainment industry, and people don't have as much choice as they used to, because we used to see lots of movies about lots of different kinds of stories about people, but these days all we get are just a series of blockbusters and no real creativity at all. And over the last couple of years, Hollywood has again become really stale and uninspired as related to its content, and this has been exacerbated by yet another government policy when TV decided to go digital in 2009. Now, the federal government decided to go from the analog ASTC format to the NSTC format for HD TV in 2009, and Hollywood thought it was going to receive a lot of benefits from TV going digital. However, TV going digital has not led to the networks on TV getting the audience that it once had back when they had television and cable television. No, much of the audience that the media oligarchs thought was going to stay on television wound up walking away from television with the conversion from analog to digital, because most people were just basically watching analog TV because it was in their homes, but because they were told they had to go out here and buy new TVs and their TVs were rendered obsolete, many people, instead of going out here to buy new TVs, what they did was go out here and start going over to the internet to get their content. So most of the people who used to watch news on television and used to watch lots of content on the 500 channel universe, a lot of those people stopped watching TV and they started going over to watch content on social media platforms like YouTube. And as people started watching content on YouTube on the regular, what happened was the media oligarchs started losing a lot of ground as related to television, and over the last 10 to 15 years, they have started to cede ground as related to their movies. So a lot of what's happened is the media oligarchs do not have the power like they used to over the audience, and they've lost a lot of their audience share over the years, because back in the 1980s, a show like The Cosby Show would get 20 million views, but what is considered a top-rated show today on network TV is a show that barely gets 1 to 5 million views. So the entire audience has basically eroded, and it's eroded because we have TV that's now digital, and the digital has not only the main channel but sub-channels, and all of those channels encroach on each other, and that basically cuts a lot of the audience away, and even worse, a lot of the content has been cut away. Content like talk shows, court shows, soap operas, and other content has basically been canceled by the networks and their executives. So TV has lost a lot of its audience, and Hollywood has lost a lot of ground over the course of TV going digital, and that's further been exacerbated by the pandemic, which changed people's behaviors and habits and made them more homebound. And as they became more homebound, yes, some people do go out here and watch some streaming services. However, a lot more people are watching social media like YouTube, and they're watching YouTubers more regularly. And as they've been watching YouTubers more regularly, they haven't been going out to the movies, which has led to Hollywood having one of its worst years since 1990. I haven't seen so many flops since 1990, when I saw Total Recall and RoboCop 2 and Dick Tracy underperform, and I saw the movies like Ghost and Pretty Woman become blockbusters that year, and I'm seeing the same pattern happening right now as related to Hollywood, where they're having all of these movies fail, like the Little Mermaid remake, like the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and The Flash. I mean, all of these movies are just completely failing, and as they go out here and completely fail, what's happening now is that they're losing their audience, and they're losing a lot of the shares of their audience, and they're losing their audience, and people are choosing to watch different kinds of content. And this is where a prolonged strike will not work well for most of these executives who are just caught up in their feelings about the writers and the actors and not looking at the bigger picture of the business. Because as someone who has studied the business for over 25 years, I can tell you that a prolonged strike of writers and actors would basically lead to most of these executives losing their audience, because as the audience sees that, oh, there's no new content coming out, what they're going to do is start turning more to YouTube, and they're going to start watching YouTubers instead. And what these moguls like David Zaslav and Bob Iger are going to do is basically cede even more ground to YouTube, and the YouTubers are going to be the primary audience, and TV and movies are going to turn into a secondary audience. That's what these executives really aren't thinking about, because they have become extremely comfortable and complacent. And as they've become comfortable and complacent with making billions of dollars every year on superhero movies, they aren't thinking about the bigger picture of the business. And because they're not thinking about the bigger picture of the business, what they don't see is that they're on the road to going out of business. Because if they don't give the writers and the actors fair compensation, then they're going to wind up in an even deeper hole than Disney is right now, with huge losses as related to their movies and their theme parks. And Warner Brothers Discovery may wind up having to be forced to declare bankruptcy as related to the $45 billion in debt that it's in. So they're not in a place where they can go out here and say they can hold out, because every day that the writers and actors are on strike, especially as we get into the fall where you start to launch your new shows, this is where the studios are going to wind up getting jammed up. Because if you keep this strike going on into the fall, I guarantee you what's going to happen is the audience is going to start shifting further into YouTube. And as they shift further into YouTube, this may be the thing that basically takes a wrecking ball to these media oligarchs and their whole business infrastructure. I mean, in the long term, it's just better to go out here and make a deal with the writers and the actors and give them compensation for streaming, even though these companies like Disney and Paramount and Sony and many others are taking huge losses on streaming, because they've basically encroached on their audiences by just flooding the market with way too much content. They don't really understand that you are with this company again being in place. When you make a deal, you can still have a foundation for something. But if you go out here and you keep the strike going on, it's going to end very badly for these executives, the same way it ended for Hostess a couple of years ago, I think about 2011. I remember when the Hostess bakers and the union went out here and had a strike with their whole business model basically being rickety. And what happened was Hostess went out of business. Many of those union bakers went without jobs and were basically at 50 and 60 years old, basically just taken out of the job market with no sort of benefits whatsoever. And the company basically died. And what happened was the company was bought in bankruptcy court for pennies on the dollar. Hostess was bought by McKee Foods, which bought most of their brands and their products like the Twinkies and many other products and made it a part of their catalog. And the same thing, I believe, would happen to these media companies. They would just go bankrupt, and they're basically on the brink of bankruptcy right now, with Warner Brothers Discovery and Disney taking huge losses. And again, YouTube would gain a lot of ground as related to YouTubers, because people watch a lot of YouTubers. I mean, right now, there are certain YouTubers that I just drop everything to watch. Guys like Mad Black TV, Mr. Superboy, Sprayway Customs. I mean, just lots of different YouTubers that I will just take a minute to watch before I watch any TV show. I mean, if I see certain YouTubers got a new video up, I go out here and I'm gonna watch their content, and I will go out here and watch their content before I watch television. And this is coming from a Gen Xer who was a TV head back when he was a little boy. And I have walked away from a lot of TV because a lot of the content just doesn't appeal to me, but the content of YouTubers appeals to me. And this is, again, why I say that Hollywood's executives are making a tactical error here that's going to cost them a lot of ground that they already lost. I mean, I see where they've lost maybe about 20% of their audience to a lot of YouTubers, and if they have a prolonged strike, they wind up losing even more audience. You may lose 40 to 50 or even 60% of your audience to YouTube and YouTubers, people broadcasting themselves because they want to see content that is unique, content that's original, not a lot of what Hollywood is producing right now, which is a lot of rehashed garbage that is been done before in the past, a lot of reboots and remakes, stuff that appeals to nostalgia but doesn't allow you to build a new audience. I see Hollywood ceding a lot of ground, and again, this will be the I believe to be fourth tactical error that Hollywood executives would have made that would cost them ground in the entertainment industry. I mean, you've already lost a lot of ground with the Telecom Act of '96, which took away competition and creativity. You lost even more ground when TV went digital in 2009 and made people migrate to the internet. And you lost even more ground with the pandemic, which changed people's whole habits as related to viewing media. And you're going to lose even more ground as related to this strike. And sadly, these guys have so much money that they've become too comfortable and disconnected to see the big picture of media. And because they can't see the big picture of media, we may not be seeing them on their media platforms like television, movies, and streaming. We may not see that media because these greedy executives basically may wind up imploding their own business because they're too arrogant to see a bigger picture, and they're too caught up in their whole greed and looking to get personal with the actors and the writers who made them billions of dollars. And this whole boneheaded approach may lead to them going broke, and it may wind up breaking Hollywood the same way Bakers and management wound up breaking Hostess back in 2011. Now, if you want to check out my screenplay all about Marilyn, you can find that screenplay in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And if you want to check out my TV series all about Nikki, you can also find it in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com as well, along with my fantasy fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, and my sorority novel, The Thetas, my vampire novel, Eternal Night. You can find all those books on Amazon.com, and you can also find them in other online booksellers in paperback and digital format, like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can send a donation to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, All About Nikki, a fabulous first season. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air meets Clueless in this absolutely fabulous African-American 1990s teen sitcom. Get all 13 episodes of All About Nikki, the fabulous first season, in paperback and e-readers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.